Yeah, so with my first year at Etsy, I will have my stats pulled up for us. I am at almost I have an array of products, but the bulk of what I sold, I would say is, and so that's what makes it easy for me to keep going.
Welcome everyone back to my channel. Today I have a very special guest. This is Jen, and she is a prior student in my Print on Demand Academy. I really wanted to share her story and her journey with Print on Demand and Etsy. It is a very unique one and one that I love to hear and share with you all. So besides that, welcome to my channel, Jen. It is so nice to have you here. I wanted to first of all let my students know about your story and how did you find Etsy and Print on Demand? And also, I know your story is a little bit different because you started in the digital side of Etsy and then you went to Print on Demand. So if you could share your story, how you found out about Print on Demand and Etsy, and how you migrated basically from digital to Print on Demand.
Sure. So much like you, the story kind of begins with COVID, right? Before COVID, I worked full time and was like the breadwinner. And then we moved and I started staying at home. And I'm the type of person that I'm always looking for a way to make an income. I've been a shopper on Etsy for years. And I don't know, I think I was just on YouTube and I saw people showing how to sell digital items. So I tried to do that. And I realized that I'm not very good at creating documents. So while on YouTube, I actually came across your channel and saw some of your early videos. I think that's when you were first coming out on YouTube. And I decided, oh, I think I could give that a try. And so I left the digital items. I had a couple like calendars and kids' chore charts and stuff up, and I left them to expire. But then I started adding print on demand items. I just kind of like jumped right in. And
Yeah.
now I started in February of last year. March was when I really started going in on print on demand.
Yeah, and you started because before this, before you started with going into Etsy and kind of the entrepreneur journey, you were a nurse practitioner and then you ended up kind of being part-time nurse practitioner and then eventually,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
So I was doing some part-time stuff and some work from home stuff. So I was already working a lot on the computer and in between seeing patients, sometimes I might just like sneak in on what can I do? And I was trying to find little things to do to make extra money because I knew that gig was going to end.
you are also a mom of four too, with all that you're doing with the entrepreneurship, part-time nurse practitioner. And you ended up leaving the medical field completely? Was that around when you started your Etsy shop?
Yes. So, I mean, I still have all my licenses and things of that nature, but I am full stay-at-home mom of four slash Etsy. So I wouldn't say currently it is a full-time income for me yet, but it is definitely like on the way. I am lucky that my husband is able to, carry the bulk of the burden. So my income is bonus right now.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And your husband, isn't he in the military? So you both move around a lot through the past few
Yeah.
years as well. I guess I did want to go back to the beginning of your story and how your climb was in your store, because currently, if you don't mind sharing, what's your revenue that you're at now in total from your first year on Etsy?
Yeah, so with my first year at Etsy, I will have my stats pulled up for us. I am at almost $75,000 in revenue.
Wow.
So I have 74,789 is what it says.
Yeah.
So as far as like the climb, I am in like a group of related niches, and I started out like posting on some Facebook pages that I was already in. And so I think that really helped kind of like jumpstart. So after that first month, I started seeing in my second month is when I really started seeing sales like consistent.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I know recently, just this year, you hit a new milestone, which is just earning five figures of revenue in a month.
Yeah, January was awesome. And I was mentally prepared for January to be dead, right? But January was my best month where I had over $14,000 in revenue
Wow.
in January. And that was the first time I hit over five figures in a month. And that was my biggest order month, everything. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, that is incredible. I mean, usually, just from my own experience, January is when there's usually a drop off from the holidays, but it's so awesome that you rode out through January into
Yeah.
February. And I guess my next question would be is how many listings does your shop currently have, and how many listings would you say it took until you started seeing more consistent sales in your business?
Between my expired and current listings, I think I have over like 1,200 maybe, and active listings right now because some of the ones in the beginning, they didn't sell, or I let them go a couple of cycles and then I just let them drop off. So right now I have a little over 900 active listings. That's keeping me going.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And even from the beginning of your journey, you were grinding it out just every week, every month. I remember you were always asking questions and everything. And then also, I saw your store just like skyrocket. I mean, maybe it's not that full time income that you were looking to get right off the gate, but you still are making such an incredible amount per month now. Outside of that, with the listings that you have, would you say a lot of them or a majority is evergreen, or do you have a mix of evergreen listings and seasonal listings? And also, to preface for anyone who's new to my channel and watching this, evergreen listings are listings that sell all year round. Seasonal listings are listings that sell during usually a 3 or 4 month time frame, and then it kind of dies off. So
I have probably started out with more evergreen. And then when the holidays started, I tried to push out a whole bunch of fall, Thanksgiving, Christmas niche stuff. And what really hit off for me, surprisingly, is the Valentine's Day niche in my group of niches, I guess. Valentine's Day season, excuse me, is what really hit off. And I sold quite a bit of that. And so a mix of both.
that's so awesome. And when you initially started creating for those evergreen niches, did you think those would sell initially, or did you branch off and then you tried other niches that you were like, wow, I'm surprised this sells?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I think when I very first began, I really didn't have a focus. I was just thinking of like my friend. She's a mom of boys, three boys. So I made a couple of like boy mom things. And yeah, I didn't have a focus. So it was like a while before I really started to like hone in on what I'm passionate about. And I started branching off from those little things. And that's where I built my store around today, is things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I
So that
love.
makes it easier to design and create things too when it's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that's a good takeaway is just that, focusing on the things that you are passionate about will sometimes carry your store much farther than doing things that you're kind of like, I really don't know this niche. I don't know these design styles. I don't know these design trends might work or the SEO might work. And sometimes just focusing on what you're also passionate about, I think that's great to go into over time. As far as your listings, is there a certain product that sold the most for you out of all of your listings?
Yeah, so the bulk of my store is apparel. So I sell a lot of t-shirts, the Bell and Canvas 3001, but I'm trying now to push more sweatshirts. In the Christmas time, I sold quite a few ornaments, mugs, and candles. I have an array of products, but the bulk of what I sold, I would say, is t-shirts.
Yeah, that is so nice that you scaled out your store, it sounds like, to other products and you found success with those other product types. Do you remember what your first bestseller was in your shop?
The thing is that I probably could have had a bestseller a lot sooner, but I
Mm.
made a beginner mistake. And I had two shirts that were selling really, really well before the summertime. And then I changed my SEO because I thought, oh, I know a better keyword. Let me add that in. And it kicked my listings out, I guess, of the algorithm back to the beginning. And so they really lost a lot of traction. So there's a tip: don't change things that are selling.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So I think that would have been my first bestseller, but the true first bestseller would have been just now in the beginning of the year in January. I
Yeah.
actually got three bestsellers in January.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so cool. And I can
Mhm.
understand now how you got that 10K month is hitting big on those bestsellers and the niches that you found that just
Yeah.
worked for you. If you don't mind sharing at least maybe just the product type of your bestsellers, was it the Bell and Canvas still that did well, or was it,
Yeah.
or, oh,
Yes. The three bestsellers were Bella and Canvas.
wow, that's
Yeah.
so
Just three
cool.
different varieties.
I love
Yeah.
that so much. I feel like the main comment I get is, "Oh, t-shirts are so saturated on Etsy," but for you, you just started your shop last year and you broke
Mhm.
through the t-shirt market in certain niches. So that's inspiring in itself that you were able to do that. So I guess this is just a question for newer sellers is what was the one thing that really changed the course of your store as far as scaling? Was there one thing that you did that you realized, "Oh wow, this is really scaling my shop," and that was kind of maybe your like secret sauce to scaling to that 10K month?
Well, I think before that, when I was just randomly posting things, I was just trying to see, oh, what will catch, but really finding something that I liked, that I was passionate about, that I could like really dive into, that was helpful. And then also like being involved with my customer service. I message my customers and trying to like encourage them to leave reviews. So I think I have a 32, I just checked it the other day, 32 to 35% review rate, which I saw the industry is like 20% is average. So definitely getting those reviews is really important because that lets people know that your shop is the real deal. So yeah, finding something that you're passionate about and being very communicative with customers. I think that really drives people to come back. I have a lot of repeat customers as well.
Yeah, I love that so much. And do you reach out to those customers then after you see that it's delivered, or do you just have like the automated thank you message in your shop?
So I have a couple of messages. When it's busy, I haven't been able to do my whole sequence of messages that I like to do, but I at least at minimum I message them when they order and after it's delivered. Otherwise, I would also message them when it ships and maybe a thank you if they do leave a review. But it's just a message that I copy and paste and add their name to it so it's a little bit more personal. And then also to invite them to join my email list. But I don't do that with the messages. That's just all over my shop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And I think that's very smart as far as trying to ask for those reviews and get those consistently and really scaling your store, like you said. So, my next question is more for the parents that watch this channel. And I think that they can really resonate with your story as far as work life balance, especially with
Mhm.
kids at home. So, what do you have any tips for any parents watching this right now as far as how do they build an Etsy shop? Maybe that they're working part-time like you were and also raising kids with that.
In the beginning, I stayed up late a lot because you're right. I did hustle a lot in the beginning, and every little spare minute I could get, I was trying to, design and upload. So I think just finding specific times where it'll be quiet, or sometimes like my kids like Miss Rachel, so sometimes I let them do TV while I'm doing it, or I just was up late and do it while they were sleeping. But it's definitely challenging to find a balance, but it's something that I really want to do. And I see so much potential in it that I know if I hustle a lot right now and get it done, that it's going to pay off and I'll have a lot more free time with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I guess that goes into our next question, which is you have a lot of drive. I mean, doing over 1,000 listings is not, an easy feat by any means, especially with raising 4 kids and also working part-time at one point in time and doing all the Etsy things that there is. I mean, you built an email list too throughout your time and a social media, which is really impressive in itself too. Not only just the Etsy shop, you're working as a social media manager, you're working as a marketing person. So it's just
Yeah.
inspiring to me on all that you've done in this past year. But outside of that, what is the thing that keeps you motivated to keep going, with all that you're doing? I guess what's your why is the better question.
I don't know if I ever want to return back to work.
Yeah.
I mean, being a stay-at-home mom is not for everyone. I'll tell you that. It's not. But once you've kind of been accustomed to this, it's kind of hard to picture yourself back in work field. And while I do think that one day I will return, it's nice to know that I could have flexibility. And within the Facebook groups that you host, there are people who are more successful than I am. And I just see that the potential is there. And I know if I keep on going, that I'm going to have another month like January. I'm going to have a better month than January. And so I'm just kind of, what did you say? You're one design away from your bestseller. And it's true. I didn't know that the ones I made were going to be bestsellers. They really hit it off. I was going for a walk with my daughter, and all of a sudden we got 10 cha-chings in a lap. Like what in the world is going on? So just having that financial freedom, really, just like everyone, right? That's a why. And it's dedication, but it's not challenge. It's not hard. It just takes commitment. And so that's what makes it easy for me to keep going.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that because that just gives me, I don't know, it gives me the chills when you say that because I'm just like, I love that you see other shops doing it. It's like, okay, well, I think I can do that too if someone else is online. And that's one thing that I've noticed recently is when I'm on Etsy and I'm kind of studying the analytics of all these new shops and the best sellers, a lot of the best sellers are under 12 months old that I've been seeing recently. So, it is very possible to scale and kind of knock the older stores and older shops. Maybe even my shop is now considered a little bit older, even though it's
Mhm.
3 years. It's about 3 years, going on 3 years old. I've noticed that, especially with competition, that you do still have to keep uploading listings and keep trying to branch out to new niches, new design trends. So, for our last question of this, is just what advice would you give to any new Etsy sellers or people that are looking to start with print on demand as far as 2023 goes?
So if you look at Critify catalog, they have hundreds and hundreds of things that you can choose from. And I think that's where a lot of people get like, shiny object syndrome and they just want to like pick everything and you don't really develop it. And I think that picking a few things and just kind of going hard on those and over time branching out. While it's wonderful, you see these great stories of people who just skyrocket, all of a sudden they have $300,000 in sales. That's not the typical, right? It's going to be a slow progress. Like I'm looking at my stats, and it wasn't until 7 months I was seeing consistent sales, right? I was seeing good sales, but 7 months, that's when the holiday season started hitting. That's when I started going up. And even then, it wasn't until January, after, almost the whole year, where I had that big month. So it's just being consistent, growing a set of products, and then over time branching out. You're in it for the long haul if you really want to have success in it. So I guess that's my blurb.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure so many people on my channel really appreciate you hopping on here and just sharing your story, sharing your why and tips for other people who are in similar situations where it's like, oh man, I'm working part time while raising a family and trying to make this work to have that financial freedom. So I really appreciate you coming on my channel for this interview. Also, at the end of this interview, I've had many questions about shop reviews recently and shop critiques. And Jenn does work with my website. So we have a link down below in the description for shop critiques. So if you would like a shop critique from Jenn, she's went through all of my courses I've ever made. I've worked with her one-on-one for the past year now, that she is a print on demand expert. She has a wealth of knowledge. So if you would like a shop critique, again, link in the description below. I feel like this is definitely spring cleaning season for Etsy shops. So if you really want someone else to look at your shop, I know that's the main issue a lot of people have, is it's like, oh man, I'm staring at my listings all day, every day. Why is there no sales? And sometimes just having that second perspective of someone looking at your shop can really help you grow and fix what you need to fix as we enter into the summer, go into the fall, and then before we know it, quarter 4 will be here, the holiday season, and hopefully that will help boost some people's stores as we go forward here. Outside of that, thank you again so much, Jenn, for hopping on my channel. And thanks for everyone who watched. We will see you all in our in my next video on YouTube, I guess. I think the intro is really funny. I don't This is where the bloopers come in and Mary's like, what is she doing? But but besides that, thank you all for watching and see you guys in the next video here. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.